Hey guys, we got an exciting one for you today. It's my first reaction video for Millennial Money. And this one is living together on $87,000 US a year, which is about $120,000 a year Canadian, in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Millennial Money. My name's Dan with Create Capital. Welcome to my channel. At Create Capital, we look at personal finance and life tips to help you grow your money and be successful. So I really wanted to look at this one particularly because they're living in Toronto, which is a super expensive city, and their combined income is around 120,000 Canadian or 87,000 US. It's not a whole lot for living in Toronto, so it's going to be interesting to see how they manage their money and if they're blowing it out in negative every month or if they're actually able to save. So let's get into it.
I think that being financially compatible doesn't even necessarily mean that you have the same financial goals or background, but it just means that you have the same comfortability with being open and actually talking about it and future goals as well.
I think that makes sense. I mean, if they want to work from home or they want to work and make $1 million, you just need to be okay with what they like. Okay, so right off the bat, I'm really excited to see the breakdown of expenses here because this is ridiculous. They make $118,000 combined living in Toronto, Ontario, which is pretty much the most expensive city in Canada to live. So, okay, here we go.
I'm Dennis and I'm 24 years old and I make $58,000 Canadian a year.
My name's Steph, I just turned 24 years old and I make $60,000 Canadian a year.
Okay, so they're pretty young, 24 years old, that's not bad.
Combined, we make $118,000 Canadian a year.
And we live in Toronto, Ontario. I work as a strategy and operations coordinator within a human capital team at a Big Four firm.
And I'm a consultant at a Big Four firm and I primarily work on, financial projects.
Okay, so right off the bat, you can tell that both of them are pretty intelligent people. They're young professionals. They're growing in their career. Their income is going to grow over time, likely, as long as their goals are to have that happen. So that's a point to make.
So I think given the companies that we work for and given that we, work for companies that are external facing and rely on a lot of clients in order to make money, things got kind of uneasy as soon as COVID hit because, usually during these times, a lot of companies are trying to hoard cash and they're not really trying to spend money on consultants, right? So for us, job security was definitely a big thing that we were worried about and, we're still worried about right now. But I think as time progresses and as our companies and we adjust to the climate, I think things are sort of getting better and better by the day.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting around the job security piece. I mean, I know a lot of people that actually work at Big Four firms and a number of them had to take 20-30% pay cuts this year just to keep going in their jobs so that they didn't have massive layoffs, which obviously would hurt the bank, but it sounds like they're okay, so that's good. Let's keep going. Okay, expenses, here we go.
I didn't really have an emergency fund or an emergency fund that had really anticipated a climate like this. A lot of the money that I was pushing towards my student loans, I've sort of been able to dial that back and actually put that into savings just in case anything happens.
Oh, they pay $1,360 a month for rent in Toronto. They must live in a closet. Wow, good for them. Like, I figured as soon as I heard they were going to live in Toronto, I thought this was going to be like $4,000 in rent per month. But let's see here. So savings, $1,300. Okay, let's get to that last. Okay, so let's see here. Renter's insurance, $17. I mean, I wouldn't pay for that unless you've got like, $50,000 worth of music gear or some kind of, really highly valued things. I wouldn't pay for the insurance part when you're in a condo like that, but that's just me. Subscription, $60 a month. Sure, that's par for the course, I'd say. Health insurance, $50. Yeah. Phones, $105. That's actually pretty good. They must have some kind of like family plan. $105 for 2 phones. Utilities and Wi-Fi. I would say $109. I would say their utilities are probably included in their rent, is my guess, maybe with the exception of lights. Yeah, and Wi-Fi. That's actually really cheap. That's pretty good. Transportation, $148 a month. So they must have like a Metro pass, some kind of bus pass or subway pass so that they can do what they need to do without needing a car. That's really good. Food, $479. Okay, wait. With a plus sign, two weird plus signs stacked. Groceries, restaurants, coffee shops. $479. How do they do that? I mean, I think I spend close to $1,000 a month on groceries between me and my wife. I don't understand. How do you do that? They must eat craft dinner. And they probably never eat out and probably never go to coffee shops, even though it says coffee shops here. Wow. These guys are really efficient with their money. Debt repayment, $958. That's really good. And then $1,300. Okay, $1,300 in savings a month on top of their debt repayment. That's really good. Wow. Okay. It's good so far. Let's keep going.
So when it comes to budgeting, every month we look at our transactions and we see where we were spending in each category. But we try to make sure that we know where every single dollar is going, and we usually use the Mint app.
We do live in a pretty small space for downtown Toronto. It's 400 square foot, if that. I think it's pushing it.
Okay, so there it is. They live in a one-bedroom apartment. It's probably pretty tight, but it's livable and it actually looks kind of nice, pretty new.
They call it a one bedroom, but it's more of a bachelor style space. We've been living together for 2 years now and we're planning to continue that, but we don't personally feel the need to have any sort of joint accounts. So we have completely separate accounts. We split all of our expenses right down the middle. It's just what works best for us. It works for our budget so that we can really plan it out.
Okay, so there you go. They said it. It's a super small one-bedroom apartment, which is what I thought. But, that's good. As long as you can manage that small space without going insane, yeah, more power to you.
So I think one of the huge misconceptions about school in Canada is that schooling is free. Well, guess what? It is not free.
Okay, so yeah, it's not the United States where you pay like 30, 40 grand in tuition a year, but still, like $30,000 in loans when you're coming out of school, depending on how much you're making, that could be a lot of money. Like he's making 60 grand a year. Yeah, 30 grand, that's going to take a little while to pay off. Yeah, if you can do that in 2 years, that would be fantastic.
And after 11 months, I'd already paid down over half of the amount.
Okay, let's see what books they're reading. Okay, The Intelligent Investor, Ben Graham. Super good book, highly recommend. Looking around for it. I have it here on one of the shelves. And White Fragility, why it's so hard for white people to talk about race. Okay.
So on a typical month, I actually throw close to 50% of my income towards my debt. So I've actually been able to dial that back and throw that money into savings just because they put a halt on, having to pay back your debt up until I think September of this year.
Very smart. I really like this idea. This guy knows what he's doing. Okay, so what he's saying is instead of putting more money into paying down his debt, he wants to put more money into savings because the program in Canada is basically giving them 0% interest on their loans for a certain amount of time during the illness. So they don't have to pay interest. So why pay down something that you're not paying interest on when you can make money on it, especially considering how investments are doing right now in the market. Put that into investments, make more money, and then it's a lot easier to pay down your debt with all the money you've made from your investments. So yeah, good strategy.
I was really lucky to graduate with no student loans. It was a nice blessing to have leaving school. And it's nice being with Dennis because then I can start working on our savings, and in the future when we start investing together, that'll be a good stepping stone for us in the right direction.
Okay, how did she do that? So she could have either worked during school or she had really nice parents to help her out like that. Either way, that's pretty good. I personally found that working during university, depending on your program that you're in, it might be okay, it might be a no-go. I personally did engineering and there was no way that I was able to work and not fail at school. So I just put everything I had into school and yeah, just decided I was going to make money when I was done, and it worked out for me. But by the same token, I know a lot of people in other programs that might have had a bit of a lighter load that were able to work and make some money, which was always pretty good. So maybe she did that. Hopefully she still says.
Because of the pandemic, we're actually going to one of the more expensive grocery stores near us. Definitely something that we're choosing to do. It's not a necessity, but it's cleaner. There's more measures in place. We know that the hours are a little bit better. It's easier for us to go there right now.
Okay, let's see what's in the grocery bag. So we have bananas, super cheap, good food. Cucumbers, again, super cheap. Tomatoes, they're a bit expensive, especially those little grape ones. Rice cakes, meh. Pineapple, pre-cut pineapple. They couldn't even just buy a normal pineapple that you shave it down and then cut it yourself. They pay like an extra $9 just to get a pre-cut one. Not good. Onion, potato, green onion, love green onion. A lot of organic things, these cashy things, Sunrise Foods. This is all a bit more expensive stuff. I see what they're talking about here. It looks like some homemade bread back there. Yeah, a lot of fresh food, which is good. But I'm really shocked. They must do really well with like how they portion their food, or maybe they just barely eat meals. But yeah, that's really good. $500 a month.
So our budget's gone up by maybe $50 to $75 a month for each of us.
We cook together, we eat together, but when it comes to paying, what you can do here is you can actually ask the cashier to split it right down the middle, and we'll do it right at the store. It's just easier for us. When you get the transaction on your credit card or your debit card, it's that exact amount that goes towards your individual budget for, for food, right?
I didn't know you could do that, to split the bill right down the middle at the grocery store. When my wife and I do it, we want to split it in a certain way. One person will just pay for it all, and then the other will just transfer some amount of money to the other, and that works fine for us. But that's really cool. I didn't know you could split at the cash register. Maybe that's just because they're at a fancy grocery store.
Although I grew up here, I was actually born in Kenya, and my family moved to Canada when I was really, really young. And when it came to money, they had a tough time adjusting to the system here. And although I didn't know much about money when I was younger, I knew that we didn't have a lot of money, but I also associated money with change, and I also associated money with a better future and a better life for your family.
My dad's always been an accountant for as long as I've been alive, so obviously he understands a lot about money. He was our financial guru in our household. He took care of everything, and he was really, really savings focused, and that's the main thing that I knew growing up, is that you save half of your money, you save more than you spend, you live within your means, you pay off any debt you have right away. My parents were debt-free even on their house as soon as they possibly could be, so that was something that was really driven into me. My first job when I was 14, again, I didn't even see half of my paycheck. It went right into my savings that I used when I went to school and was put towards that. So that's always been instilled in me.
Okay, there it is. It comes out. So she's been working since a really young age. She's been saving up money, and that was how she paid for her school, which is awesome. And it's really funny to hear that her dad's an accountant, because I mean, if you want to grow up and be really good with money, I guess it's good to have a parent who's an accountant to like drill that into you, just to be, super into saving and not into overspending and living within your means. That's great. I mean, these two are really good so far, with the exception of the pre-cut pineapple, whatever that was about.
So I think the first time that we talked about money was actually before we started dating. We had a lot of similar coworkers at work that we talked to about, and we actually talked about salary for the first time, which is a huge topic, salary transparency. I worked in HR, him and one of our friends worked in finance, and they made more than me per hour at our jobs. So that was the first time we really talked about it.
I also think we definitely kicked off some conversation talking about our, our upbringings and our backgrounds. Obviously me coming from a family that didn't really have much, whereas, Steph's family, like she said, her dad was an accountant, and, they were very savings focused and kind of knew what they were doing with their money, right? So I think sort of looking at that variation and seeing the dynamic was, one of our early conversations.
So because Den and I live together, a lot of our fixed expenses are the same and we split them down the middle. One place that we definitely differ is my coffee budget. I used to spend a lot more before I started budgeting on coffee, as I'm sure a lot of people do.
$37 a month on coffee. That's like over $400 a year just on coffee. Probably 1% or so of her salary is going to coffee. That's crazy. Okay. Well, I hope she's changed her habits.
During the pandemic, I luckily haven't been spending any. We make all of our coffee at home, but I'm sure it's a habit that will probably come back.
So for me, I refuse to spend money on new clothes, I refuse to spend money on coffee, and I refuse to spend money on a car.
That's amazing. How they do it without a car, I don't know. I couldn't do it, but it's pretty great for them.
Before we get started,
Destroy the like button. So we actually started our YouTube channel, Steph and Den, last year in August, but we didn't get serious up until January. And the main reason we started was, at least for me, was because I saw a gap in the knowledge when it came to money and sort of finances here in Canada. I think a lot of the information that we see online is very United States focused, and there wasn't really much when it came to Canada. And when it comes to a lot of the stuff that we talk about, careers as well, there's not a lot of people who look like me, who are black, that work for a Big Four firm, that are showcasing the life and how to get in and how to sort of navigate this whole corporate space as a black person.
So they have 3,000 subscribers. That's pretty good, but they don't generate any money, which is funny because you need 4,000 hours of watch time and 1,000 subscribers. So maybe they didn't hit the watch time threshold yet, or maybe it's just not making, maybe it's like a couple pennies that they're making, so they're not even pretending like they have any.
we want to help young people like us. We want to help people who look like us, who don't look like us. Overall, just understand their finances, and also just, even if we're not in a position to teach on every topic, sharing our experiences and being really transparent so we can help people along the way. We also try and offer free resume reviews and different things like that so we can actually give back and give value for free to other people and do what we can to connect in that way.
Well, that's great. They're, kind of entrepreneurial as well, doing their own things with a bit of a side hustle. Get those resume reviews done, and the YouTube channel, maybe it'll make some money eventually. That's all positive stuff.
So my financial focus right now is really on saving. And this started for me when I first graduated and I got serious about budgeting, and I'm really continuing to focus on that more and more as time goes on. Each month I'm saving, my goal is 50% of my income. So basically I get paid bi-weekly. I'm trying to save one full payment each month, and I'm putting it right now into a savings account, but I'm planning on switching into a high interest savings account too to really capitalize and hopefully grow that savings as well each month.
Okay, so she's got $17,000 in savings, which is not too bad for 24 years old. And the interesting thing is she saves 50% of her income, which is amazing. Like, you think about when her income grows, which it likely will, it's only going to compound. She's going to be living a certain lifestyle, which is pretty frugal, to be honest. And she'll be able to save more and more money as long as she doesn't have that lifestyle bloat where, the more you make, the more you spend. If she can kind of keep that in check, then she's going to be set.
So right now I'm actually not even paying back my student loans. All that money is actually going towards my savings, and I'm keeping that aside, and it's sort of helping me with my rainy day fund should anything happen, me losing a job or, anything else happening financially. And eventually I will be able to throw that back into my debt, once things sort of cool down and things change.
Oh, Den, you didn't do as good as your girlfriend. Only $5,000 in savings. Oh, well, okay. He had a different upbringing, he said, so he wasn't as tight on money off the bat. And I think she kind of helped him by the sounds of things to rein it in. But it sounds like, he's saving $950 a month too. So that's really good given his income. So, okay. Not too bad.
So when it comes to health insurance here in Canada, it's actually free, which is really cool. But when it comes to your prescription drugs, that's usually covered by your employer through insurance. That would be deducted from your pay monthly. So for here in Canada, if you were to lose your job, I definitely don't think your employer paid benefits would be something that would be too big of a deal, given that the rest of healthcare is free. So if you were to go to the hospital, it's covered by what we call, your OHIP card for people here in the province of Ontario. So it's completely free. You break your arm, you go to the hospital, that is free.
Okay, so that's interesting. So he's saying that it's free in Canada for healthcare, which it is, more or less, but there are some things you have to pay for, like prescriptions. But it's funny that they're saying that they have to pay $22 and $30 a month for their health insurance plans, because a lot of employers like theirs will actually give you, like, as a benefit package, they will give you a certain amount of money that could go towards that health insurance. So you don't actually pay for it. You're paying for it, but it's not coming off of your salary. It's like you get your salary and then you also have an additional thing that's the health insurance. But again, a lot of employers are different. Maybe that's the way theirs are. But.
So I wouldn't say I'm necessarily comfortable with the salary that I'm making, and the reason being is just right now in the days that we're living in, with me having debt, there's just so many expenses, and it kind of just feels like I'm living to get by. And the type of career path that I've chosen, I kind of knew what I was signing up for. You don't necessarily make a lot in the beginning, but hopefully as you gain experience over time, that can translate into more income.
I would say that I do feel comfortable with my salary, given the fact that I'm still in my entry-level role. I'm still working as a coordinator and hopefully working my way up to beyond that. It's a good starting salary, especially on the internal side of an organization like this. Like Den mentioned, in general, certain other roles in other organizations, it might be higher, and obviously I'm working my way up to that. But starting out right now, I do feel comfortable for where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean, I see where they're coming from. Like, if you think about having some kind of cash cushion, if something were to happen, if you lose your job or something, she's got about 16,000, he's got about 5. It doesn't last super long. Like, he might have a month worth of savings and she might have a couple months worth. So it's tight. When you're starting off in your career and you're not making as much money, you're not going to have that big buffer and safety cushion that you really want to have most often. But like they said, it's a good career path that they're in. You do have to work hard when you're in consultancy type roles, as with all roles really. But these ones are particularly interesting because you're working in the day and then you have to kind of network in the night to get more clients to bring it into the company, and that's how the company grows. And it's an interesting job. Definitely a lot of upside and a lot of money if you can get into the higher tiers of roles in those companies.
I think for myself, the most important money lesson that I've learned is transparency is key. And I learned that starting out when I was young, where I didn't know a lot about where our money went. I just knew it was important to save, to now really being able to share that with other people. That's a barrier. People don't know what their peers make, what their parents make, what it really takes to maintain a lifestyle and avoid lifestyle creep. So for me, the most important money lesson is that you should be transparent with it and just honest with both yourself and others about where you're at with your money.
That, I don't know. I mean, it's good to be transparent about money, but you don't want to just like walk around the streets like, hey, I make $60,000 a year. I'm not sure why you would want to do that, but I guess it helps for the TV show. But yeah, okay.
Thanks so much for watching.
Don't forget to subscribe to CNBC Make It and Steph and Den down below.
Okay, so overall, I think they're pretty good. They are young. They're making okay money. They know what they're doing in terms of savings. They're living frugally. They're living within their means. I didn't see any BMWs parked in the yard or anything, so that's good. I would say I'd give them a thumbs up. Good job. So with that said, thanks for watching, guys. Hit that like button if you liked the video. I really appreciate it if you did. Hit the subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this in the future, and make sure you turn on the notification bell so that you know when all the videos come out. So thanks again. We'll see you next time.